have put together a GitHub repository, which I will throw in the chat as well as I speak, of this haunted places, spooky, shiny application. Let's get a little music to liven the mood here, because I'm going to treat this like a very condensed version of a Shiny Dev Series live stream, which means you're in for some hot takes and who knows what else. So, how this application was made. If you've been paying attention to the conference up to this point, many of the things that were themes of previous talks or sessions, this application is incorporating into it. Let me get a nice view of the README and a more plain. Nope, not that. See, I knew we were gonna mess things up here. Get this toolbar out of my face here. Okay, let's go ahead and make a nicer version of the preview here. So, the Shiny application, and yes, it is a Shiny application. This was architected with the Golem package, and for those that know me know that I've been a big fan of Golem to help, make a robust Shiny application as an R package. And if you've watched my Shiny Developer Series live streams in the past, you may have heard a rather infamous quote from I am when we had Colin Fay on in episode 25 that says, and I quote from myself, "Once you go Golem, you never go back." Well, I'll stand by that. I use Golem in all my projects now. The data that this application is serving has actually been provided by the Tidy Tuesday project from last year. And in particular, it was a CSV file of these haunted places across the United States. And it's not a huge CSV, but definitely not a small one either. So I thought, well, what's an efficient way to import this into my R session without bogging down too much further? Well, if you heard our talk at the end of yesterday, you know about the duckplier package, which is a friendly R binding to DuckDB, which I use in this application to very quickly import this data set, which I have in a utility function here, which we will scroll over here. We'll get to a little bit here. There's a little stuff behind the scenes for the map stuff. We'll get to that later. But as a very convenient function called duckplier df from CSV. Could not be easier to import that data set in, and it's very memory efficient. I have it included as a data set in my package infrastructure itself. Little dplyr magic to massage it a bit, and I did reduce it a little bit for the sake of the leaflet map, which we'll get to shortly. But duckplier, ace type of package for interacting with DuckDB. Let's look at the app itself. Sorry for that. I'm hitting too many things at once. Nope, stop that, Eric. Okay. The map here, if you've seen maps before in Shiny, this is powered by the leaflet package with some handy functions that come out of the box as a leaflet user for what we call the markers for each of the hidden place locations. I was able to inject custom icons that I found online, which I have a link to in the README, for randomly generating, whether it's like a pumpkin, a Dracula, a ghost, or whatever. And the leaflet map is powered by a click event. And when the user clicks on it, I have a little part in the UI that renders the description of the haunted place. It's literally just a field in the data set, and I just surface that as a custom dynamically generated UI output, reading the text right there. And very straightforward, but I made sure that when the user unclicks it, it hides it. So now they're back at kind of square one with selecting their stuff here. So that's great and all. Leaflet, handy package for the map generation. Now comes probably the most intricate part, albeit not as intricate as I expected it to be. When you select a question, or we select a place, I should say, and hit begin question, you are greeted with, as I joked about in the other day, a randomly procedurally generated question that will be unique, hopefully unique to each of you that's visiting the app as you're playing with this. One guess as to what's powering the question generation. If you guess Gen AI, you get the gold star, because that's exactly what we're doing here, because I am leveraging the Elmer R package. The Elmer R package is relatively new from Hadley Wickham, providing you with a really robust R binding to many of the different chat bots out there, or chat service, AI services, I should say. I am using OpenAI's GPT-4o mini model for this, but you could, in theory, swap this for any model you like, whether another hosted model or in the open source world as well, with the Olama initiative and things like that. So how did I actually do this? This is where things get really elegant here. So to initialize the chatbot, I use the chat OpenAI function from Elmer, give it the model name. This is the key stuff here. And again, I'm learning this very new to this from my explorations on this. You can feed the system prompt, and you can use a lot in here. What I did is I had a markdown file in the app repository called promptmd. Let me get a nice preview of this as well. You can see this on the right. I wrote this in the context of, say, coaching somebody next to me that's going to help bring me these quiz questions. I was very verbose on, I want to use the context of this haunted place data set. I'm going to let the user give you the following information: the name, latitude, longitude, the state, and the description. This is the most important part of the haunted place. And I told the bot, give me a question in the style of a mathematical riddle, but it uses the context of that haunted place description to actually give it a nice question. And then I made sure to tell it to give it to me the result back in JSON format, because I want to consume this information downstream in my application functions to say, okay, I'm going to import this as JSON string and then transform that into a shiny multi-radio button input that the user is going to be able to choose from in the app itself. So that prompt is one of the things I'm starting to get a better handle on in my AI adventures, which are still very early going here. And so that's how Elmer is playing a role here, which again, super, super easy. Other things that we can talk about here, we can talk about the theming a little bit, because the theming is powered by BSLib. BSLib is not that new anymore per se, but it is so elegant. If you want to do a fun theme for your app, in this case I wanted the theme of the Halloween colors and kind of schematic, and again, credit to Anna for giving me some inspiration on this, I decided to go with the sketchy theme, which gives it kind of that, more hand-drawn appearance to it, but that's a boot swatch theme already out of the box with BSLib. Of course, I have too many things open. Let's get stuff closed here. And then you can also easily inject custom fonts with the font Google function. And I found a cool font called Underdog. No idea how it's named that way, but it gives that nice kind of a good in-between of the Hollywood style font, but then readable too, because there were some that I tried before that didn't look great on the screen, but then, this one I think looked pretty well too. And then to change the colors, it's just simple background and foreground parameters. Nice little perk of VS Code or Positron is that if you want to change the color and you have the hex notation here, you could easily change that on the fly with a little color picker. I'm not sure if that showed on the screen, but nonetheless, that is pretty neat. Let's see, what's some other bits that we can talk about?
Eric, are you going to comment also on the icons that you selected? Those, I think, are really good icons, and I think that's very interesting how you place them in here.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that. Sorry about the music volume. I did turn it down. Hopefully it's better now. But in terms of how I placed them, I took a shortcut here, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But I made, in my data set, I gave a field for the icon name, and in Leaflet, you can give it a list of icons initially, before you render it, and you give it the URL to the icon and the width and height, but you make like this make icon function where you actually draw those from, or where you actually source it from. And from my README, let me go give you where I found that. It was from the flat icon project, and I simply searched for Halloween icons, and I downloaded these manually. I'm sure there's a more elegant way to do it, but these are kind of fun themed icons that were map friendly. So I took about 6 of these, and then in my data set, I basically randomly assign an icon to each location. So that's why in the map, if I go back to the app here, you can see that they're kind of interspersed throughout. I'm not sure how random allocation it was, but that's where that came from. So that was very, very handy to use. How are we on time, Anna? Do we still have a couple minutes here? I don't know how much longer I have.
I think we still have a couple months. Let me double check. I'll get back to you on this.
Okay, all right. So one other probably area I want to highlight here is let me see here. Let me see if there's anything useful in the utils function. Yeah, so this kind of goes hand in hand with the AI stuff. Had to prepare the prompt that's going to be sent by the user every time they click a location and hit that begin question button. I simply did a little string here that took the latitude and longitude to say in the description and just use glue to stitch all that together. But this is what, as if you were typing it in a chat console, what you would type in the place of me doing it automatically for you. So that's glue. Glue is a great package to intersperse like variables inside text as well. And then lastly, the display, like that one's not used, but I have a module, because you should use modules anytime you're asked moderately complex, to take the actual question that comes through, give a little radio button, which has a little icon customization of a skull icon. So when you click the question, let me hit that again. You get when you click it, you get a little skull icon as the marker here. I thought that was pretty neat, so I had fun making that one. But it's pretty straightforward to get those questions in, and then I assemble that as a tibble, all the user responses with both the correct answer and the incorrect answers. The stretch goal was to let you all have a way to submit these manually, or I should say as like a leaderboard thing. I ran out of time, but there's all the building blocks are there that we could have like a leaderboard of this if I send those questions to a repository like a database or something, that we could have had a leaderboard from. But in a nutshell, that is the Haunted Places app. Again, I invite you to check out the repository here on GitHub. I have it linked in the chat. There's a whole bunch of other tidbits or links to the other things I'm building upon, which again, DuckPlyer, DuckDB for the data ingestion, Leaflet for the map rendering, Elmer for the AI, binding with R, and then BSLib for the customization. And again, credit to Posit Cloud Connect for hosting this app for us. I'll try to keep it running as long as I can before they get mad at me. But nonetheless, hope you enjoyed that walkthrough. I think that brings us to time, Anna. Or am I good
I
on
think
time
we
here?
might have 2 more minutes. I don't know if you
2
want
more
to
minutes.
comment.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know if you want to comment a little bit. Some of these things might be new for some of the users, especially, like using ChatGPT or any LLMs possible. Do you want to comment a little on the APIs or like using how this was in place in your code? Because a lot of people might struggle with that, how to actually
Yeah.
make it protected.
Yeah, so good point. So if you heard my spooky story from the other day, or from this morning, I should say, you should never, ever, ever put your credentials in plain text when you call these services. Now, the Elmer package is intelligent enough to detect for a certain environment variable for what these variables will be called depending on your service. But what I do in the repository is, let's see if I can get to show up here in my view here. I have I don't have the example in here. But a .r environ file is what we typically use to put environment variables in a project location. And you want to make sure that is ignored in your version control, which again, if you go to my git ignore here, notice it's .r environ. That's why in the GitHub repository, you should not see this file. But as long as you know how to put like the name of a variable equal and then the actual value of it, you would put that in your application directory, and then Elmer in this case will pick it right up, and in that way you don't have to worry about putting it into plain text for your actual call, in this case to the OpenAI chatbot. So yeah, security is important, folks. Don't scare your IT admins by putting credentials in plain text if you didn't learn anything else. All right. Yeah, so we may be out of time now, Anna, but I hope you enjoyed that walkthrough with me. And for those in the audience, go check out the GitHub repo, play with the app some more. I'm going to, like I said, keep it running. And that's how I live with our Pharma. I always build some stuff, and sometimes it fails catastrophically. And in this case, I think it worked pretty well. So hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. We got more talks coming up in a couple minutes here. So have fun, and we will see you on the other side. Have fun, and thanks again for tuning in this ad hoc Shiny Developer Series live stream at our Pharma 2024. Bye-bye.